Off the Wall Productions is proud to present Voices of the Methow. This is a series of conversations with interesting folk in and around the valley. Hey, this is Byron, and I have Ann Diamond here with me. Welcome to Voices of the Methow, Ann.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I think you are fairly well known around here, but can you please briefly introduce yourself?
Well, if you mean around here, meaning the Methow, most people know me as a physician. I've been a doc here for almost 20 years. One of the beauties of living in a small community, though, is that you overlap with people in so many different ways. So some people know me as a soccer coach. Others, I've worked in the schools, helped run the Mazama Community Market. I don't know. I might be well known, but I'm a community member just like you.
First off, I want to congratulate you on your recent attempt to represent us in Olympia. You ran as an independent candidate for the 12th Legislative District, position 1.
That's true, but I'm going to back up for a moment because most people do not know what their legislative district is. So let me explain it for just a moment. Legislative district means 137,000 people. That's all it is. It's a population-based district. And for all of us to have that many people, you have to take all of Chelan County, all of Douglas County, and then a scoop out of Grant County and a scoop out of Okanagan County to get the population base you need to make the full district.
That brings me to another question I've got. Did you personally find any gerrymandering going on the R or the D side in your experience of this campaign?
I would say no. I do not believe that there is severe gerrymandering in Washington state.
Are you still hopeful about the electoral process? And if so, in what ways particularly?
Well, one of the things about running independent is you get to talk to other people throughout the country who are running independent. And you know that I'm a physician. I have never taken a political science course in my life. And so this was my political science course, was running this race. And in talking to people who live and breathe politics, I realize now how many people who call themselves independents are involved in changing the election process. There are aspects of elections that could be done better. Washington state's pretty dang progressive in having mail-in ballots. You can vote early, you can vote late. We have motor voter. You can be 16 and go for your driver's license. They'll take down your name and number, and when you're 18, send you a ballot. On the other hand, Maine, for the first time, because of an independent push in that state, is doing something called ranked choice voting, which means you get to vote for who you think is the best candidate, the second best, and the third best, all the way down the list. And the Republicans and Democrats in Maine didn't want to do it. They didn't want that, what they perceived as, and I'm putting words into the Maine electorate.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the people who are in power don't want things to change.
Right.
And so the parties did not want ranked choice voting because it's believed that it helps other voices to crack into the system, let a little light in. The way it worked is it was an initiative to the Maine ballot. The Maine voters passed it, and then the legislature in Maine didn't want it to go. And the independents in the legislature said, no, you will not block the will of the people. So this past election, they had their first statewide ranked choice voting. And one of the objections had been that it was too complicated and the electorate wouldn't get it, which is a very interesting thing if you think about it, because it's basically your legislature, who you elected, saying the voters are too stupid and can't figure this out.
Right.
Anyway, what happened in Maine in that primary was they had higher turnout than they've ever had.
So before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to add or that we might have missed?
I would still challenge people to think about whether a party best represents their interests. I personally embrace the idea of being an independent, and I feel that an independent can be more nimble and more responsive to a small community, an agricultural region, a region that is not being well served by national parties at this time. Being independent is difficult for most voters because it means you have to sit down and look at what are the various issues. You can't just assume, oh, that person's going to be a Republican, you're going to be a Democrat. You have to actually delve into it. And it's harder for me also because there's no structure for me to push out my ideas. You can't just look at a Republican website or a Democratic website. I strongly believe that there is an independent movement happening and that we need to have more people stepping forward and running independent so that the population can see and understand that it's a viable, vibrant way forward. That's the seed I want to plant. Think independent, act independent, work for your community.
Yes. Well, Ann, thanks for being on Voices of the Methow. Here's wishing you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And I really enjoyed the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you too, Byron.
And we could go on for quite a while longer, but I'm going to call this good. Thank you, Ann. You've been listening to Voices of the Methow, an off-the-wall production. Until next time, thanks for listening.